Hi, welcome to this video series about burnout and how you and your teams can deal with it. We'll explore what burnout is, the physiological, psychological and behavioural symptoms of burnout. So if you're a people manager and you're really concerned with the health of your employees, the well-being of your employees, making sure they're productive but happy, well, this course is sure to be useful. And we'll look at ways that individuals can recognise burnout, see it coming, do something about it, head it off and correct it. And we're going to understand the reasons behind burnout, why it occurs in workplace, how we can design workplaces that will foster an environment where burnout is much less likely. So welcome to the Productivity S channel. Let's get it done. There are a number of factors that contribute to burnout, and many of them are concerned with actually the type of work we give employees, the conditions that we give employees to work in, and the reward and recognition that we show people. Burnout is very much a feeling of being unfulfilled rather than the stress response of having too much to do. Burnout has actually been studied for a long time, for decades actually, but it was only recently that the World Health Organization officially classified burnout as an occupational phenomenon. Crucially, not a medical condition, but more related to conditions in a workplace to do with occupation. The WHO talk about feelings of energy depletion and exhaustion, feelings of negativity and cynicism, and increased mental distance from one's job, all of which contribute to a reduced professional efficacy. How do you know that you might be experiencing burnout? How do you know that one of your colleagues might be experiencing burnout? How do you know that you might be on the road to a burnout situation? Well, there are signs that you can look for. Morphologically, it has been observed that the human brain actually does undergo some physical changes during a burnout situation. Obviously, these are pretty impossible to detect unless you've got an MRI scanner hanging around, but it has been observed that some of the emotional centers of the brain, such as the limbic system, the cingulate gyrus, the amygdala, those centers of the brain actually undergo physiological changes during a burnout situation. These changes are similar to people who take psychedelic drugs or have a lot of emotional instability. Now, you can't spot these, obviously, but these physiological changes do translate into more observable behaviours that you can spot. Physical signs of burnout include poor posture and a negative body language. Maybe you'll see somebody slouching at their desk regularly, or somebody that's sighing and cursing a lot. Are they or you struggling to sleep, waking up a lot during the night, worried about work? That Sunday night feeling seems to happen every single night. You'll see people displaying super negative behaviours, showing a real lack of engagement, a lack of interest, a lack of motivation, and really not wanting to be part of what the team is doing. That's a key symptom. This negative attitude can be one of the most obvious signs that somebody is suffering from burnout, especially if they're normally such a positive person and then you see a marked change over time. So you can see the difference between stress and burnout. Stress is very much focused on too much. Burnout is focused on not enough. Overloaded versus underloaded, as it were. The good news is there's plenty that can be done as individuals and managers to combat the situation. We're going to take a look at some of that here. We're going to start with the responsibility of the individual. What can you do if you suspect that you are suffering from burnout or on that road? What can you do if you see a colleague that's suffering from burnout? The first tip is acceptance. One of the most important aspects of any mental health issue, including burnout, is that of acceptance. So it's taking a step back and accepting that you might have a problem, that you might be burnt out, that you're not infallible, that you're not indestructible, is one of the most important aspects of being able to fix the problem. The next tip is about recharging. And there are a number of aspects that fit into the category of recharging. We'll go through some of them here. Firstly, getting enough sleep is very important. And I don't just mean enough hours, but the right quality sleep as well. Who knows, you might even be getting too much sleep and find it hard to get going. In that case, try getting up a little bit earlier. And also make sure you're getting enough exercise as well. Exercise is always good for mental health. Crucially, don't overdo it on the exercise because you might well end up feeling more exhausted and more tired. And of course, look at your diet. Try and keep away from the junk food, resist the cravings, eat healthily, eat balanced. The combination of improved sleep, diet and exercise is extremely powerful and can set the body up for tackling much more serious problems, such as burnout. The next set of tips can all be classed as generally improving the vibe, improving your mojo, improving your general well-being. First one is professional help. There are a lot of trained mental health professionals, and if you've got that acceptance, if you have accepted that you've got a problem, well, reaching out to a mental health professional could be something that could be very beneficial. You could be talking trained psychiatrist or therapist, or you could be talking career or life coaching. One caution with professional help is that it can be expensive, so you wouldn't really want to build a dependency on it. Another thing you can do is to increase social interaction. A lack of interest in social situations is a classic sign of burnout. People don't want to socialize, they don't want to interact with people, they don't want to go out, and often their own family and close friends can be ones that they don't want to spend time with. And because a burnt out person is naturally seeking solitude, this can be pretty difficult to say, well, all of a sudden I'm going to now go the other extreme and I want to be super sociable. That can be difficult. But modifying behavior is much easier when you combine behavioral modifications with the general healthy recharging tips that we saw earlier about exercise and diet and sleep. Combining them with the behavioral modifications acts as a very powerful package to help push somebody out of the malaise of burnout. Another thing you can do is change the scenery. Now, as we speak, there's a bit of a virus situation going on, so getting out and about is more difficult than it usually is. But people, especially that work from home, can benefit a lot from getting outside, maybe working in the garden or working in a coffee shop, or just changing up the scenery that they're normally experienced. A bit of variety in the workplace. Remember, monotony and a lack of variety are key contributors to a burnout situation. Now, the next 3 tips are probably 3 of the most important factors I think that somebody can do to try and alleviate burnout. Recognize your great achievements. As we've seen that burnt out people are suffering from negativity and a lack of worth, a feeling of uselessness, well, it's sometimes a good idea to create a list, a daily list, a weekly list of achievements of good things that they've done. It's important to realize that when you get to the end of a week, actually, you've done a lot of good stuff. Next, keep learning new things. A great antidote to the monotony of burnout is to keep learning, keep challenging your brain, keep learning new skills and refining existing skills. Learn new skills, have some fun. It's never been easier these days to learn new skills. There are many platforms available, excellent platforms full of high quality, easy to consume lessons that you can easily learn a new skill. Getting back on the road to self-improvement can be one of the most effective remedies against burnout. And as you learn new skills, you're likely to unlock doors and opportunities that you never expected. Limit contact with negative people. Now, we all know them, we all associate with them, we know the people who are negative, who bring the mood down, who kill the vibe. It's critical to limit contact with negative people, and if you can replace that contact with the more positive and ebullient individuals that you know, well, even better. Now, this can be really difficult because if you're in a burnout situation and you're full of negativity, you might actually be drawn to people who are negative, and you might actually not want to associate with people that are positive. So you can actually have to force yourself to do this. So we've seen there a number of different things that individuals can do to do with mental health, to do with exercise and diet and sleep and recharging yourself, as well as tips more concerned with who you interact with and how you interact during the day. So there's a lot that an individual can do. Leaders have a lot of responsibility to ensure that they build workplaces and build cultures where burnout cannot take hold and run rampant through an organization. So it's not realistic to expect the demands of working in modern organizations to get more simple. And here are some things that managers and leaders can do to really reduce the chances of burnout in their workplace. Firstly, reduce the curveballs. Burnout is much more likely when teams are constantly reacting to curveballs, changing situations, and changing requirements. As leaders, we need to ensure that our teams know the mission, the strategy, and the direction that we wish to take as an organization. We need to know that people know the high-level roadmap, the timelines, the way the organization is set up, and the direction that it's moving in. Everybody knows what the team's supposed to deliver. Everybody knows who's going to deliver it and what the individual responsibilities are and who's accountable. And then it's up to leaders and managers to support that and let the teams get on with it. You see it every single year. The roadmap is agreed and signed off by senior management, and then within a few months, the roadmap has been created to within an inch of its existence by new so-called urgent requests coming in here, there, and everywhere, and before you know it, it's a confused mess. This is where leaders need to step in. Leaders need to swat those curveballs away and allow their teams to concentrate on the job in hand. While there are obvious exceptions, leaders need to get into the habit of pushing back on these urgent requests and allow the team to keep focused on the roadmap that was agreed, that they can do the job that they know they're supposed to do. It's the constant context switching of work items that can really cause an individual stress, lead to mistakes, and also contribute to that burnout situation. And they also lose confidence in their leadership's ability to control the situation, to push back on any curveballs. Now, we've already talked about one of the key characteristics of burnout as being a feeling of worthlessness and that their work is not important. Well, this tip around empowerment is something that can really help. As a manager, if you give your teams responsibility and accountability and ensure that everybody has a clearly defined role and knows what they're supposed to be doing, and also how that role fits into the overall picture of the team, then that can really help reduce burnout. The more everybody understands exactly what it is they're supposed to do and how it contributes to the overall success of the mission, the better the situation will be. And that you don't end up with a situation of inequality where one person happens to have got all of the donkey work, all of the admin work, or all of the so-called not important stuff, while everybody else focuses on the juicy tasks. If you're in a situation like that, well, that individual is going to feel unappreciated, worthless, and a prime victim of burnout. The point is, everyone needs to be doing fulfilling, meaningful work that contributes to the team mission. The next thing you can do as a leader to help alleviate burnout is to create a safe place to fail. I've worked in organizations where the slightest mistake has been ruthlessly punished and you've been held up as somebody who's messed up, or look at this crazy idea somebody had that didn't work, look how it went wrong. What happened in that organization was that innovation completely crumbled and everybody stopped coming forward with ideas. It's absolutely imperative that you as a leader create an environment that fosters innovation and allows people to express themselves. As we've spoken about, burnout is characterized by a feeling of emptiness, worthlessness, and a lack of innovation. And having a safe place to fail really helps to alleviate that. The next tip is to reduce repetition and process-driven tasks. Many sectors and many jobs are highly process-driven. That's got its plus points, obviously, but it can also lead to a situation where people don't value the work that they're doing. If there's a poor procedure that needs to be fixed, fix it. If something's pointless, get rid of it. We need to get rid of the work that people don't want to do and replace it with work that people do want to do. It's up to managers and leaders to be aware of what the people on the ground are doing at that level and to look to remove roadblocks and red tape and process whenever possible. Another piece of advice is to use productivity tips. This isn't just for a manager, this is for individuals as well. It's for everybody, really. We all owe it to ourselves to make the day-to-day easier and easier. There are myriad tips and tricks and productivity hacks to help make regular tasks easier, more efficient, and faster. You'll start reducing mental inertia to perform these tasks when you're making it a one-click operation or even automatic. Something else that's important for a manager and a leader to do to alleviate burnout is don't judge. Vital not to judge when it comes to any issues related to stress, burnout, and mental health. Just because the situation that the person's going through might not stress you out doesn't mean that it's not important. And everybody is different and has completely different levels and capabilities, including the area of stress and burnout. What might be fine for you may not be fine for somebody else. If you're creating that culture of trust where people are happy to raise a red flag and comfortable to ask for help, well, you'll be in a much better situation when somebody feels that they're really struggling. They'll be able to put their hand up and say, hey, I need a bit of help here, I'm in trouble. Next up, everybody has a responsibility. When it comes to burnout and mental health, well, everybody has a responsibility. We all have to look out for each other. So you, as an employee or a manager, you're not just looking out for your own mental health, you have a responsibility to look out for the health of your colleagues. Is that colleague that you work with suddenly ultra negative when they're normally super positive? Are you seeing people's productivity dip? Well, take note of situations like that because those people might be suffering and they might be looking for some assistance. And as a leader, you always need to lead by example. You need to lead from the top. As a leader, you will set the tone for your employees. You'll set the culture in your organization. You need to be tuned in to the mental state of your teams, your individuals, and the culture that you're creating. As well as leading and doing a great job, it's a leader's responsibility to be scrutinizing, monitoring, and managing mental health. Just like the canary in the coal mine was there to detect a deadly work environment for miners, well, burnout is the canary in the coal mine in today's workplace. Burnout is a sign of a toxic environment. It's a sign that the work environment is broken and needs to be fixed. And crucially, it's the environment that needs to be fixed. You don't just make the canary stronger and able to deal with more, you have to fix the causes. So as you can see, plenty that a leader can do to create that culture that can help your employees not suffer from burnout and make burnout a very uncommon thing at your organization. As we've seen, burnout is a massive problem in today's fast-paced organizations. Companies can develop bad reputations for being workplaces that burn you out or that don't look after you as a person. We've seen that being burnt out isn't just a case of working too many hours. It's much more to do with fulfillment, negativity, a feeling of worthlessness, being appreciated at your job. It has a very distinct profile to stress. It's up to everybody to do something about burnout. It's up to individuals to recognize the symptoms and the signs and the onset of burnout. And it's up to those individuals to try and do something, to accept that there's a problem, to try and take some corrective action and change the course of what's going to happen. There's an awful lot that leaders need to consider here. But considering all of this and doing it well contributes to a great place to work, a culture of trust, and a leader that people want to follow. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a better leader, manager, get more stuff done, be more productive, well, we've got so much more content on this channel to do with emotional intelligence, empowerment, productivity, you name it, we've got it there. It all helps us all to get more stuff done with less stress.